We are going to do one-step equations today. Our essential question is, how do you solve one-step equations with one variable? And we're going to look at a few vocabulary words before we start. So first we're going to talk about inverse operations. Those are operations that undo each other. So when we talk about adding, the inverse operation for adding is going to be subtracting, because when you add something and you subtract to it, it undoes that operation. Okay, another example would be multiplication. Its inverse operation would be division, because you can undo multiplication by dividing. Next, we have equation. Equation is a mathematical sentence that shows that two expressions are equal. Okay, and the way we're going to solve one-step equations, as a reminder, we're going to draw a line through the equal sign just so we can separate from the left from the right. And then we're going to get x by itself by performing those inverse operations. Okay, so if it's adding, we're going to do the inverse of subtracting. If it's multiplying, we're going to do the inverse of division. Okay, so we'll do these four together. And so for the first one, this one right here, we got x plus 9 is equal to 2, right? I'm going to go ahead and draw my line. Now I have the left side and the right side, and in the left side I see that there is my x, and we have a plus 9 next to it, and I want to get rid of the 9 because I want the x by itself. So to get rid of the 9, it says it's plus 9, so I'm going to do the opposite, the inverse. I'm going to subtract 9, and whenever I subtract 9, I got to do it on both sides. Okay, so if we go ahead and do this left side, we can bring down the x. 9 minus 9, that's a 0. You don't have to write 0. We can just leave it blank, like we can cross it out, right? We have our equal sign, and then 2 minus 9, that's going to give us a negative 7. So our answer here is going to be x is equal to negative 7. And we can always check our answer by putting negative 7 into the x. So negative 7 plus 9 should give us a 2, and it does. Okay, so I know that that's my answer. Number 2, we have something similar, except it has this negative, right? So I'm going to go ahead and draw my line. Okay. And so right now we have a minus 8 with the x, and I want the x by itself. So to undo a minus, we're going to add 8. Okay, whatever you do on one side, you got to do on the other. Okay, so for this one, when we write it down, we have an x. The 8s, they cancel out. We have our equal sign, and then negative 4 plus 8 is going to give me a positive 4. So here, x is equal to positive 4. And again, we can always check. 4 minus 8 should give us a negative 4, and it does. Number 3, we have negative 2 and an x. So there's nothing in between the negative 2 and the x. So when there's nothing, I'm going to assume that they're multiplying each other. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and draw my line. Since these two things are being multiplied, I'm going to divide, because the opposite of multiplication is division. I'm going to divide by that negative 2. And whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other. Okay, so when I do that, the negatives and the negative 2, they cancel out, so I'm just left with an x at the bottom, equal sign, and then 8 divided by 2 is going to give me a positive 4. Oops, I forgot the negative 2. It's going to give me a negative 4. Let's fix that real quick. Negative 4. If we check, then do negative 2 times negative 4, it gives us 8, which is correct. Okay. Number 4, we have some division here. So let's go ahead and divide our two sides. And on one side, we have division by 7. So I'm going to multiply by 7. And I have to do it on both sides. So when I do this, the 7s here, they cancel out. So I'm just left with an x on the left side. And on the right side, we can do negative 8 times a positive 7, and that's going to give me a negative 56. Okay, so here x is equal to negative 56. Go ahead and do these 4 on your own. So go ahead and pause the video. Okay. Let's go over our questions. So for the first one, we have 1 over 10 plus x is equal to 2 over 5. Okay. Here there is division, but I'm not going to multiply by 10. I'm going to subtract 110. Oh, and I forgot to do my line. Let's put our line first. I'm going to subtract by 1 over 10. Okay, and so here we can have, this would cancel out to 0, and then we would have x is equal to, let's see, what would that be? This we can all put it into the calculator with our alpha y equals, or if you don't have the calculator, you can always do it on Desmos. Okay. And it should give you 0.3, or that's the same as 3 over 10. Okay. 7, they are being multiplied. So I'm going to go ahead and divide my 2 sides. When they're being multiplied, to undo multiplication, you're going to divide by that number. Okay. So when you do negative 56 divided by 14, on the left side, you should get a negative 4, and on the right side, the 14s cancel to have an x. So our answer here is negative 4. Okay. The number 8, let's go ahead and separate our numbers. We have division by 18, so we're going to multiply by 18. Okay. When we do that on the left side, the 18s cancel out, so we have just x, and then negative 6 times 18 will give us a negative 108. That's our answer. And for the last one, very simple, we have x minus 6 is equal to negative 5. So the opposite of subtracting is going to be adding. Okay, so here on the left side, we have x. This cancels out to 0, is equal to negative 5 plus 6 is going to give us a positive 1.